Right off the top for you, a big move from the U.S. Supreme Court with the election now less than a week away, and justices will allow Virginia to remove 1,600 voters' registrations. The state says belong to people who are not U.S. citizens. This comes as an answer to an emergency appeal from Virginia's Republican administration after a federal judge found the state illegally purged those residents from voter rolls over the last 2 months. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump virtually tied in the polls with just 6 days left until the election, and they need every single ballot they can get to secure that seat in the White House. Both candidates hitting some roadblocks on the campaign trail. Earlier today, Harris addressed President Biden's comments, seemingly calling Trump voters garbage.
First of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear, I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. You heard my speech last night and continuously throughout my career. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not. And as President of the United States, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not. That is my responsibility, and that's the kind of work that I've done my entire career, and I take it very seriously.
CBS News political reporter Hunter Woodall joins us now to break down the latest from the campaign trail. Hunter, are we seeing Harris distance herself from President Biden with less than a week to go to the election?
Well, good afternoon. I mean, and this is something that's very clear. You know, this has been a tense kind of back and forth politically because obviously President Joe Biden decided in July not to run for another term, very, historical history making by doing so. And this has been the issue that the vice president has had to kind of weather is how close to associate herself with President Biden and how much to say, hey, I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to take a different approach. And these comments by President Biden that, became publicized last night, this has put the vice president in a very difficult position. The vice president gave that, closing argument speech at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C. last night. And then immediately a lot of the attention goes to President Biden's comments, obviously, about garbage. And this is tough because this makes it a challenge for the vice president to keep the attention on her rather than on the incumbent administration. She would rather have the attention, obviously, on her campaign and her closing argument.
And this, Hunter, also comes as the Trump campaign continues to deal with the fallout of those original comments about Puerto Rico. He addressed that during his Pennsylvania speech last night. Was there ever a real apology, though?
Well, and that's the fascinating thing here. I mean, the former president, Donald Trump, he's touted, his work and support for Puerto Rico, but it's hard to change the script from what you saw at that New York rally. Those comments, obviously, again, in the same way that Vice President Harris doesn't want to be talking about what President Biden said, the Trump campaign likely doesn't want to be talking about what, was said in the warm-up speeches before Donald Trump spoke on Sunday. It's where things can get very weird in these final days of the campaign. Campaigns want to be on message. They want to be kind of putting their best foot forward. And Donald Trump is obviously having to play defense in the same way that Vice President Harris is right now on things that they didn't say, but that people that support them have said.
And Harris and Trump today hitting crucial battleground states, both holding events in North Carolina and Wisconsin. What messages do they have following two major campaign speeches last night?
Well, it's fascinating seeing where they're going. I mean, obviously they're both keeping, a similar schedule today, going to North Carolina, going to Wisconsin. North Carolina being that state where Donald Trump, won in 2016, won it in 2020. If Donald Trump loses North Carolina this time around, that would be a very, difficult political blow for him as he tries to win the White House. For Vice President Harris, Wisconsin is that critical state where she's able to win Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and that lone electoral vote in Omaha, Nebraska. That's really her easiest path to the White House. But also, that North Carolina, that's a great pickup opportunity for her. But it's a state that really has troubled Democrats over the years. They haven't been able to win North Carolina in a presidential race since 2008. So when you're looking at the attention 6 days out, the idea that North Carolina is getting so much attention just speaks to how close this race really seems to be.
Yeah, it really is. Hunter Woodall, thanks so much for that reporting. All right, meanwhile, in Ohio, a certain group of voters have the power to change control of Congress's upper chamber. CBS News correspondent Jared Hill reports on the state's fight for the U.S. Senate.
Ohio isn't a battleground for the White House anymore, but it is one of a few states where split-ticket voters, folks voting for one party for president, another party for the Senate, could have a real chance at dictating who controls Congress. In this increasingly red state, you have Sherrod Brown, the incumbent, really trying to make sure that he can win over Trump supporters to maintain his Senate seat here in the face of challenges from a Trump-backed candidate, Bernie Moreno. Brown's reelection could hinge on how well he can separate himself as well as align himself with his party as he is trying to win over those votes here. This is a state that Trump won in 2020. CBS News is watching about 10 other Senate races as well across the country. One of them you got in Maryland, where it's a deep blue state that's trying to hold on to a blue seat, despite the fact that there is a popular former Republican governor now running for that Senate seat as well. Now, I was talking to some folks here in Ohio. One woman in particular said that for the longest time, she has split her ticket, voting red for the president and then voting for a Democrat for the senator. She says this time around, she is going all GOP all the way. We'll have to see whether or not more folks end up doing that, and if this stays one of those states with a split piece of ownership here. Reporting in Cleveland, Ohio, Jared Hill, CBS News. Back to you.
We'll be watching, Jared. Thanks so much.